Your Happy Day Station 5, broadcasting to you on 89.9 here in Lusaka and the surroundings. It is the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue, and we are going to tackle several issues that concern the country and all. This program is also airing live on Wave FM on 98.7 in Mazabuka, Spice FM 91.9 in Central Province, and also Tuta FM 90.7 in Mansa. We are also going to open the phone lines so that you can interact with our guest for this morning. The phone numbers you'll be calling us on are 0955 221515. You can also send in your express SMSs on 0761 9124. We are also live on our Facebook page and YouTube, 5FM Radio Zambia. My name is Grace Msimuko, and for the next 55 minutes or so, we are going to be tackling several issues that concern the nation. My guest this morning in studio is Mr. Noel Nkoma, who I must say wears a lot of hats. A lot of hats. We'll be finding out more on that and so much. So my guest is Mr. Noel Nkoma, who is an economist, and we are going to be talking several issues pertaining to the situation in the country. Mr. Nkoma, welcome.
Thank you very much, Grace, and for the benefit of listeners out there and viewers as well following us on Facebook. Grace and I have a long history. We shared the same desk at primary, Northmead Primary. Is that 52 years ago?
Oh, my dear.
Yeah, so we come from a long way. And it's really nice to be sharing the same space. And good morning to the listeners there, and happy to be here, as always.
Right. I was saying you wear many hats, and another one that you have added in the very recent past is you being appointed to the board as chairperson of NRFA. Must say congratulations.
Thank you, and indeed, it's a privilege to serve the government of His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, and also I think it's an honor to enjoy the confidence of the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, who have bestowed me this responsibility, and is to serve the Zambian people, which I don't take lightly, and I am just doing that.
Okay. Now, NRFA, for the benefit of somebody who might be listening to us for the first time or does not even know what it stands for, just take us a little bit into that. What is the mandate?
The National Road Fund Agency is a creation of an act of parliament, which was as a result of a recognition by the government then, the MMD government, to be able to streamline the road sector players, which he created the Road Transport and Safety Agency as an agency on its own, the Road Development Agency as a contracting agency on its own, and the National Road Fund Agency to be responsible for resource mobilization as well as for management of funds required for road and other related infrastructure.
Okay.
So that is the mandate of the National Road Fund Agency. And I think that it has delivered on its mandate to a larger extent. But indeed, as we will later on discuss, there are issues which I think have impeded its capacity to be able to execute its mandate. And there are reasons for that, which I will be able to share with the listeners out there.
Okay, so you having mentioned that, there must be a lot going on in the background, and you've mentioned the other agencies that fall under the same umbrella. What are some of the challenges that they are facing?
Well, the number one challenge, which as National Road Fund Agency, I'll speak for National Road Fund Agency.
Okay.
Since I want to respect the space of my colleague, Engineer Charles Mate, who is chairing the RATSA board,
Right.
and also Engineer Yogesh Kuntawala, who's chairing the RDA board. The three of us, I think, we are working very closely together through what you call the Road Sector Committee of Chairpersons, which is chaired by the RRD board chair. But I'll speak for NRFA. For the benefit of the listeners out there, you will recall that in the last administration, there was massive road infrastructure projects going on. And it also happened at a time when the country's what you call financial sustainability had eroded, meaning that the country was diving deep and deep into debt, contracting roads, but also at the same time depleting the resource envelope, which has culminated into what you call a legacy debt or legacy loan or legacy Nkongole. Nkongole to both international, what you call foreign road contractors and also local or domestic road contractors. And mostly these are our own brothers and sisters who ventured into road construction, but were caught up in the debt trap. Now, the question that will arise is, were the roads delivered? Yes, to a larger extent, the roads were delivered. Then the second question would follow. What was the quality of the roads? Right? Then we now come to the most vexing issue. At what cost? And what are the issues which manifested after that ambitious, what you call L400, link Zambia, whatever you call it? It's debt of 18 billion kwacha, right? This is not debt that has been contracted under the new Dawn administration. It's debt that was contracted under the previous administration.
Okay.
Now,
so let me just cut you short there. You do mention that those three key questions that if there was so much money available and we're getting into debt, where the roads, where they
exactly
have they been done? Because we have been through a motion where, for instance, let me take you somewhere away from the roads, like universities and other infrastructure. Monies were available, but there was no delivery.
Yeah, what I can tell you, Grace, is that indeed I also question, right, the credibility of this debt. I also question it because by and large, there were many projects which did not even go past the 50% mark completion. And I think you do remember, Grace, that in one of the cabinet resolutions of the previous administration, they immediately terminated or suspended all projects which had not reached 80%, right, threshold. Now, what does that mean? It's a breach of contract, right? That comes with penalties. That comes with consequences. So, yes, the debt may be sitting at 18 billion, but for my own reason, and this is not yet validated, but I'd like to believe that maybe 50% of this is highly and grossly inflated.
Right. And also, when you mention this huge debt, obviously, when you owe, you accrue interests, and the 18 billion might turn out to be
maybe 5 billion.
Maybe
5-6 billion.
Double the amount that is there. How do you what are your comments on this matter? Because the special audit report for the financial year ending December 2017, 2022 revealed a lot of financial mismanagement.
Oh yes. I've not seen the report. I've tasked my colleague on the board, who's chairperson for audit, Mr. Robert Malasha, to delve into this report, and we will be able to have further details in terms of the issues that pertain to the National Road Fund Agency function So at this stage, I may not be able to comment because I've not studied the report yet. But I totally agree that there was definitely an element of what you call mismanagement in terms of how these resources have been appropriated. Because the Auditor General's report, from what I saw in yesterday's paper, a contractor was overpaid by about 3-4 million kwacha. That's a lot of money. So if one contractor, or 3 contractors rather, were overpaid, what more the hundreds of other contractors who are sitting on the database as owed money by NRFA? Sorry. So what I'm saying is that there is every reason to be able to validate this data. How do you validate it? I know that there are some technical audits that have happened. I'm yet to see the reports and many other processes which basically speak to validating the debt, the integrity of the debt, so to speak. If someone says, I'm owed 10 million kwacha, demonstrate that you delivered on the project and it's something that we can be able to touch and feel. Because you can't hide it. A road is something that basically even a child, 2-3 years old, will know that this is a road. So those are some of the things that I think we need to look at going forward. But I should hasten to mention, Grace, that it is my most sincere hope that by the end of this year, we have closure on this. What do I mean by we have closure? We have to pay off all the suppliers, all the contractors, or the road sector. That is my hope.
Have you had conversations with these many contractors and suppliers? Because when you look around, they usually, when it comes to who accrued this date and how it was done.
That is a management issue. But let me also hasten to mention here that it's not NRFA who contracts contractors. It's not the job of the National Road Fund Agency. The National Road Fund's mandate is only to pay based on a profile and payment from the contracting agencies. Who are the contracting agencies for roads? It's the Ministry of Local Government and Housing, and it's a road development agency, right? Which is under the umbrella of the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing, and Urban Development. So that is the more reason why, Grace, maybe I should say it now, that when I was appointed at NRFA, the first 2-3 days of my visit to the offices, I found contractors in the corridors of NRFA. And I asked management, a simple question: who are your clients? Then they said it's RDA and it's Ministry of Local Government and Housing and Rural Development. Then I said, then if these are your clients, why are you entertaining contractors? Because they're not your clients. So let contractors deal with those who contracted them, so that you do not create a fertile ground to compromise yourselves or to create an avenue for corruption. So we took a decision together with management and as a board that we will not entertain any contractor at NRFA offices, so that the staff can do their job and they can be able to effect payments regardless of who the contractor is, within the mandate that they are supposed to function, based on a profiled list, which is submitted monthly by the RDA and also Minister of Local Government, Housing and Rural Development. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development,
Now, still talking about the matter of contractors, will this in any way, because you're talking about dismantling this debt by probably the end of this year?
That is my desire.
Okay, so
I want everyone who legitimately provided a service, either provided a road or whatever, to be paid in full. And by so doing, we shall stem this opportunity for corruption. If we are going to say, let's pay everyone and start a new leaf, what does that do? If we release, let's say, 5-6 billion into the economy, that's a stimulus. That is an empowerment. So we get the economy rolling again.
Now, the budget, the revised budget will be presented, I think, this afternoon or thereafter. Will this issue with contractors, suppliers affect the budgets in any way?
I'm not privy to the revised budget. I know that was a cabinet matter, but in terms of how to affect the suppliers contractors, I'm not sure. At this stage, I cannot be able to speak to that. But I know that the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwana, and the Secretary to the Treasury, Mr. Felix Ikurukusa, are desirous to have all those who are owed money by government, whether contractors or suppliers, to be paid. Mm-hmm. The misery that we have inflicted on our people went and did the works in good faith. Others borrowed from banks, others even borrowed from Shylocks. Because when you get a contract, let's say 5-10 million, get excited. Mm-hmm. They put up their personal assets, whether it's a car, whether it's a house, all that, they put in all that they had to be able to execute on this contract. What happens? The contracting agency, which is RDA, through NRFA, have failed to pay them. What has happened? It has driven many families into destitution. Mm-hmm. People have lost houses. People have lost property. People have even lost families, marriages. So you can tell that as much as we were excited with infrastructure, little did we know the havoc that it was going to create to many small and medium contractors. So as a new donor administration, we have to correct this wrong. If somebody delivered on a project, let it be validated, let us pay. Regardless of who they are, who contracted them, and when they were contracted. The only qualification is that you're a contractor, whether you're a foreigner, whether you're a Zambian. That is what is important.
Right. In case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue. My guest in the studio is Mr. Noel Nkoma, who is the board chairperson for the NRFA, that's National Road Fund Agency. And we are here to delve into matters to do with debt restructuring, among other things. We are also coming to you live on Wave FM on 98.7 in Mazabuka, Spice FM 91.9 in Central Province, and Tuta FM 90.7 in Mansa. We are also streaming live on our Facebook page and YouTube channels. You can also get a hold of us on phone line 0955-221515. You can also send us your advance SMS on 0761-9124, and you'll be able to interact with my guest in studio. Now, Mr. Nkoma, just a few days ago, it was interesting to see on social media and former Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba accusing the UPND of having borrowed more than 6 billion in the 3 years, if it's even gotten to that 2.5 to 2 3/4. Yet you are talking about their past mountain of debt. What is your take?
Okay, thank you so much, Grace. I was actually shocked to see that revelation by my brother Emmanuel. And one thing that I can give credit to Emmanuel is consistent on falsehoods, on lies. So he has mastered that game, and I cannot compete with him in that space. But I've come with facts. These facts are available on the Bank of Zambia website. They are also available on the Ministry of Finance website. So I think just give me 3 minutes just to break down the debt that has been contracted under the new donor administration. First of all, I'll give you the total, right? In August 2022, under the International Monetary Fund, a total, as at August rather, 2022, under the extended credit facility with the IMF, $561 million has been disbursed. Meaning this is money that has come into the Bank of Zambia, right? From the time we went into a program with the International Monetary Fund called the Extended Credit Facility. right? I'll break down first the amounts and I'll tell you what the monies were used for. Then this is broken down into disbursements. In August itself, in the 2022, $187 million was released. In April 2023, the second disbursement of $187 million was released. In November 2023, another $187 million was released, bringing the total to $561 million. This is money that has basically gone to the following things. One, in every budget that the Minister of Finance has presented, there's a provision for what you call loans and grants from cooperating partners, right? This includes the IMF to support the budget, because the budget has got about 20% component, which is funded by loans and grants, which speaks to this. Now, the larger portion of this money went towards supporting what you call the balance of payment support, whether it's payment for crude oil, whether it's payment for drugs, whether it's payment for CDF, whether it's payment for social cash transfer, and so on and so forth. But most importantly, also, it was directed towards stabilizing the kwacha. You know that the kwacha came under pressure. And had we not intervened in the manner using this resource, the kwacha now would have been somewhere around 40, 50. You know what that does to the economy? The cost of living would have been unbearable. So that is money that we got from the IMF, $561 million from August 2022. Now, come 2023, under the President's Emergency Program, PEPFAR, the American president, this is a program for 6 years, right? And how much money has been dispersed? $391 million. These are for targeted programs under the HIV and AIDS programs, as well as initiatives, including provision of technical support to the health sector, right? So add $391 million plus $561 million, it gives you $952 million, right? We're adding. Again, in 2021, the government went into an agreement with the European Union for 360 million euros, right? For the support to go towards budget support, health and education sector, among others. This is a 7-year program stretching from 2021 to 2027. Now, from this 360 million euros, only $30 million has been disbursed, which basically has gone towards what you call budgetary support. 30 million euros has been disbursed. Then come again our interactions with the World Bank in 2022. Contrary to assertions that a total of $750 million was disbursed by the World Bank, it's not true. Emmanuel, my brother, has lied. What was disbursed was a loan of $275 million. Again, going towards the in-country public financial management systems, budgetary support, and other related budgetary expenditures, right? So 275, what does that give you? $1,127 dollars. Then again, there was another program with the World Bank where the World Bank approved in 2022, that is $210 million and $300 million as support loans to Zambia. Out of the approved $210 million, the Zambia Devolution Support Program has so far received only $50 million. What was approved was the 210, only $50 million has been disbursed. Again, under the $300 million budget support loans, only $73.8 million, which has gone to the Zambia Growth Opportunities Program, has been disbursed. So you add $50 million plus $73 million, it gives you $123.9 million. You add that to 1,127,000,000, it gives you $1,351,000,000. Right? Let's go now to what you call another World Bank grant. It's not a loan. This is a donation, for lack of a better word. Understanding the macroeconomic challenges that Zambia was going through, the World Bank released a grant of $125 million, again targeted to second macroeconomic stability, growth, and competitiveness development policy financing. Now, if you add 1,351,000,000 to 125, it gives you $1,476,000,000, right? Now, the other multilateral partner is what you call the Africa Development Bank. Africa Development Bank, yes, there has been some negotiations with the government where we are being accused by Emmanuel that the Africa Development Bank has released $320 million. It's a lie. And what has only been released by the Africa Development Bank is $14.7 million and another $68.6 million, which has gone towards the Chinsali Nakonde Road Rehabilitation Project, integrated small town water supply and sanitation projects, and many others. So these two give you a total of $83.3 million. You add that plus another disbursement from the World Bank of $74.2 million, the total disbursement to date comes to $1,633.5 million. Now, take out the $125 million, which is a grant. It's not a loan. It leaves the loans which has been acquired from the World Bank, from the IMF, and from the Africa Development Bank to $1,508,000,000. This is the total external debt that has been contracted from the time you formed government to date. Now, Grace, $6 billion.
That's a lot.
And $1.5 billion. Someone must be really out of their mind not to even do a simple fact check. These are records. They are public records on the Bank of Zambia website. You get them. So for Emmanuel to go and alarm the people of Zambia that this government is as reckless as PF used to be, where these are monies borrowed from what you call multilateral lending agencies, which Zambia is a shareholder. These are our own institutions. Zambia is a shareholder of the World Bank. Zambia is a shareholder of the IMF. Zambia is a shareholder of the Africa Development Bank. These are all institutions at what, 0 or 1% interest. Compare that to the Eurobond, which they went to borrow, and they couldn't even account for it up to now. At what interest rate? 15, 16, 20% interest rates, driving this country into a debt crisis that we're still grappling with now. And what do? Instead of being remorseful, they now continue to make fun of those who are genuinely making an effort to resolve these issues. So, Grace, for the purpose and the benefit of Zambians, your government has only borrowed $1.5 billion. People will ask, where has this money gone to?
My next question exactly.
Is one I've mentioned, to support the kwacha. You remember that the exchange rate, every time the exchange rate depreciates, it hurts the most vulnerable in our community. It means that products which you get, the price goes up. Because we're an import-dependent country. About $500 million has gone towards stabilizing the kwacha, right? The other money has gone towards what? The farming blocks, to boost agriculture. CDF, that we keep on talking about, student meal allowances, budgetary support to health, procure medicines, HIV and AIDS, and so many other things which basically speak to responsible borrowing, not reckless borrowing, as the PF did.
Okay. And in the same vein, and talking about what goes on social media, the PEP president also accuses the UPND government of there's some misappropriations that the former regime seems to have built on. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I saw a blazing headline in yesterday's mass newspaper. Again, I blame the media. I blame you, the media, because you can't have a blazing headline without doing a fact check. Let me tell you, let me speak to that. Sean Tembo is suggesting that our domestic debt has ballooned from, I think he's talking about 89 billion kwacha when the Patriotic Front left government, to about 236 billion kwacha, or is it 31 billion kwacha as at the latest figures. Again, it's wrong. It is wrong. It's incorrect. It's a lie. And I'll tell you why. The time UPND assumed government, the domestic debt, this is money owed to either through treasury bills, government securities, contractors, supplies to government, was standing at 11, was standing at, just a minute. Yeah, was standing at 198 billion kwacha, right? That is as of December 2021. Mind you that because of the debt standstill, Zambia had no capacity to access foreign markets. So it was standing at 198 billion. Then as at January 2024, it has moved from 198 billion to 236 billion. What is the differential there? About 40 billion kwacha, right? From 2022 to date, as of January 2024. This is the domestic debt. Now, when we talk about domestic debt, we talked about the 18 billion NRFA. That's part of it. And mind you, with domestic debt, the clock in terms of interest keeps ticking. So out of this rise of 40 billion in the last 2.5 years, there's a higher chance and probability that probably 20% of this is interest and penalties, right? This is where the money owed to oil marketing companies of about $500 billion. This is where the money is, where the PF administration contracted oil marketing company to supply oil on the promise to pay them. They never paid. Up to now, this debt is yet to be resolved. That is what made them to massage the price of oil, right? That's what made them massage the price of oil. So as a responsible government, we have inherited this and we're resolving it. So someone out there must be grateful that a person who was not part of this mess is making a honest effort to resolve the debt issue. So what has the increment is not what Sean Tembo wants to portray. It's only 40 billion. And if you look at this in real terms, in terms of dollar, you'll find that because of the exchange rate movements, the government basically maybe has still maintained the same appetite to spend as has been the case previously. So every debt that has been procured under the UPND can be accounted for, as I'm accounting for it now, and can be justified.
Okay. In case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue. My phone lines are now officially open. You can join the conversation. Call us on 0955 221515, and you can also send in your SMSs on 07619 We are also streaming live on our Facebook page and YouTube channels. 5FM Radio Zambia. We also have our partner radio stations also in the house. Wave FM on 98.7 Mazabuka, Spice FM 91.9 in Central Province, and Tuta FM 90.7 in Mansa. My guest on the program, Mr. Noel Nkoma, who is an economist and newly elected board chairperson for NRFA. Hello, good morning.
Yeo ma ukabanji ma sebenza banji
tasebenza bwino kaimwe
ifetia mikira mulungu atyo shawanzati wali mamochari ngine judgment day kamayo tumbeko kuno kwa Kanyama.
You are welcome.
Wali banji wali mu studio
Nerebo na mulibonja stubeko.
No tia mikira mu pitirize ku kutikambira
Zikomo
mo pitirize ku bapunzisa
zikomo baba.
Inanikumbuka kuti ba PF banachita default nkongolo za mene banaendo kongola mu street kulingana na mwamene mukambira benzo kongola na parliament sienzo chita approve manje ine funso yanga ili pali zija nkongole zamene banakongola monga zija zametwa za Zambia Railways na izi ndarama za ndola Lusaka Road. Bushe izi ndarama muzabalekerera so chape kuchiziende mu maukwa.
Okay, thank you, Sumbeko.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sumbeko, for coming through. It's still the same question on how these monies were acquired and how the UPND government hopes to actually make sure that these debts are paid off. Let me get 3 calls and then I'll let you respond. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. Your name and where you calling us from?
This is Michael Nalishua.
Mr. Nalushua, you are welcome. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling you from Livala Ward 7 under Kawata Consul.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Mr. Nkoma.
No, I'm Noel Nkoma.
Noel.
Nkoma.
Oh, Noel Nkoma. Okay. Is it the economic advisor to the president?
No. I just see it as National Road Fund Agency Chairperson.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Speaking to Kamayo Sindeko.
Thank
now,
you.
I think Mr. Noel Nkoma, you are speaking very well. You see, I want to applaud you for this.
Thank you.
What we are lacking as in the UPND is the people that are able to come from these propagandists. We know these people in the propaganda. We can't even mention their names, some of them. Ambassadors, whatever, yeah. But when you counterattack like this, even us, the ordinary UPND member, we are able to get this information and educate the masses out that say, you people, it's not time for you to blame the UPND government and the Akainde CM. But this is what transpired under Walungu when he was at the helm of power. It will be easier for us, Mr. Nkoma, as I'm speaking now, you are educating me.
Thank you.
Than this allowing the people coming on the ground and saying that things are bad, standing on the anthill and blaming the man who is trying to sort out the mess which they left. I'm sure you are aware that today the man can call himself a top-notch lawyer. The question I have is that how can a top-notch lawyer mislead the entire cabinet by telling them, say, stay in office, yet later the court ruled that it was wrong. I don't understand what law he studied at the university.
Thank you.
The issue as I conclude.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nalishua, for coming through. 0955-221515 is the number that you can get us on. You can also send in your SMSs on our cell 0790907619124. You can also follow us on this conversation on Facebook and our YouTube channel, 5FM Radio Zambia. Hello, good morning. Good morning, you are very faint. Hello, good morning. If you could speak up, you are quite faint.
What about you?
Okay, now we can hear you. Your name, sir, where are you calling from?
Correct. This is the one Mutembo, the demand calling from Church Compound.
Okay.
So, wano Nkoma.
Munibwanju Mtembo.
Simili bwino njala tabe amene mwaleta wa UPND.
Pepani.
Njala tabe.
Pepani.
Yes. So, imwe kukamba pali nkanya top notch. We are being told that you people are top notch economists. Now, look at the economy that you are running, a dead economy. Look at the price of middle meal, 400. Look at the price of sugar. Look at the price of fuel. Look at the price of everything. Everything has gone up. And yet, you are trying to mock Edgar Lungu to say that he is not a top-notch lawyer. Are you top-notch economist too? When each and every time you go out, your president is good. Mutoropi was good in Sparta. Now, where is the top-notch something that you are trying to boast about? The point I'm trying to push through is that by UPND, you have damaged this country. It was far much better off in the PF than now. Thank you very much, Nadia Mobile.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mutembo. Maybe you'd like to tackle those ones.
Yeah, let me tackle those.
Ahead.
And I'll start with Mr. Mutembo. And thank you so much for that intervention, Mr. Mutembo. I respect your opinion, but I will try and educate you a little bit. Mr. Mtembo, just take, for example, yourself as a husband, a father, you have got 5 children, and you are earning a salary of 5,000 kwacha every month. Then what do? Because of your bad habits of alcohol, maybe spending money without any due regard to the welfare of your family, you go and borrow from every neighbor Kalova at exorbitant interest rate, and Kalova every month you're expected to pay back 10,000 kwacha, right? And you tell your children that I am wealthy, you're able to have bread and butter and everything. When the time comes to you to pay this 10,000 kwacha, what has happened? You fail to pay. You default, right? The impression you have created to your children and your wife is that you're a wealthy man, yet you are not. You have been living on borrowed money and time. That is exactly the Edgar Lungu you're talking about. He went recklessly to borrow everywhere. Anyone who had money to lend, he got, regardless of the interest rate. What happened? During the time that he was in power, he could manage to suppress the price of fuel. Why? He had the money to be able to use that borrowed money. Then now you can come back and say, yes, our father, even if he was borrowing money recklessly, he has left us as destitute because no one is able to trust him anymore. Why did Zambia go into debt default? They went into debt default because no one could trust them and they had no money to pay back those loans. What did they do? They now began to borrow on the domestic market. Any Shiro in the world who had money to lend, they would come to Zambia. This was recklessly war, what you call it, war Mtembo. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. The problems that we're having now, which the UPND is trying very hard to resolve, are as a consequence of the mess that the PF put this economy. Do you know that there's a loan of $800 million for fuel which was contracted under PF, which was not paid? What happened when they failed to pay for that fuel? The only thing they could do was to shut down Ndeni. 400 jobs were lost. What do? They had now nowhere to go. The only recourse was anyone who had money. Do you also know that they couldn't even employ teachers, nurses, doctors, because they had run out of money? So, Mutembo, don't be deceived. HH is doing a honest job to resolve these issues. Yes, we may be inflicted right now in terms of the cost of living. Now, let me explain to you what the cost of living is. Inflation eats into your cost of living, right? And as long as our wages don't increase, then the cost of living still remains an issue. How can wages increase? Productivity, not what PF got us used to, whereby when you hear a minister is visiting a church, all cadres you line up, tantamen, and you get free money without working for it. This in UPND, we say no. You have to work for your money and sustain yourself. So what are we doing? Creating opportunities, empowerment, CDF, and so on. So this issue of productivity in the economy will continue to elude us if we don't apply our minds. Let me go to Michael Narishua. Thank you so much, Michael. Indeed, you have raised very important issues. All I can say is that a previous administration, every honest Zambian knows that the issues that UPND has been trying to resolve now were as a consequence of the mess they created. When Rupiah Banda left this government, the exchange rate to a kwacha, to a dollar, was about 7. There was about 3 billion in reserves. There was no debt, which Rupiah Banda left. To the most, maybe 2 billion. What happened? These people came and squandered that money and began to borrow. Lastly, let me go to Judgment Stumbeko. Judgment, you have raised very fundamental issues here. Where is the $120 million which was given to Zambia Railways? You inspect the rail track from Chirawambwe up to Livingstone. See if there was a new rail which was constructed. 0. Money squandered, given to cadres and cronies. And they called this empowerment. It was outright theft. Go to Lusaka and Dola Carriageway. A contractor for a groundbreaking ceremony was paid $30 million just to put tents, and the president should land there, have entertain cadres, and you say Lusaka and Dola Carriageway will be done at 1.5 billion. They failed. This money has to be paid back to the Zambians. This $120 million has to be accounted for. We have done the Lusaka and Dual Kaiju at $650 million from $1.5 billion that they wanted to steal from the Zambian people. So let us not be deceived. I've come here with facts, what we borrowed externally and what we have borrowed domestically, and where that money has gone to. Let us argue on facts. I thank you.
Okay. Now, I have a message here from David, is it Daniel Linganja Zulu, who says, you and Mr. Sean Tembo are both telling us lies. Some of these facts we need to verify yet again. You are just being clever.
No, I think, Mr. Zulu, I did put a caveat on my presentation. I said these figures that I'm presenting, they can be assessed on the Bank of Zambia website. You can Google, check how much has been borrowed from 2021, 20 up to 2024. Go to the Ministry of Finance. I'm sure that there is also a website there. This debt is there. These are facts. I've never come on radio without facts. And that is why I encourage my colleagues who come on radio, come with facts. Here, I've got the facts here in black and white. Right. So if I've lied that the debt that has been contracted, external debt is 1.5 billion, I've broken it down here, where the money has come from. World Bank, IMF, and Africa Development Bank.
Okay, let's take in some more calls. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Your name, where are you calling us from?
This is Mr. Malambo.
Mr. Malambo?
Yeah.
You're calling from within Lusaka? Kabwe. How is Kabwe this morning?
Kabwe is good.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess
we know in our Malambo Bulshani.
Ondorera wina zino sana amushiwa problem tete sana eyo twakwete kumumazi ero kwale kokongole nda amashi takari bomba kodi nisho washikongwela ama tavina mwachipere example ida challenge sana ifutule mwana wetio valikula ma hospital valikula ma university bati valikula uma change mama
yes
kwati ne ya mwachipere example na ya kutauni na sendendera mapanganda na mgushita paji yako. I don't know, but I started a family of Angan. It's over.
Ah, we come so very.
But it's not from the budget of Madama, but I started a Kavunga. Everybody was nice and a family.
Yes.
So, who would take over? Why did you choose us?
Son of Malam. Son. Nalomba tatuletura because of them.
Problem. Pata problem awere po muntu akwati likivira likashani vali ona ole fintu va boma ndisamba ale po penda lambo kunanda ku ma province ande amon aba banani kani va GBM kutatu kina itika bingi nendarama indarama na patane bingi uti ate ukusonkera amona va
yes you are correct Msabala
kulingana kulendera wena Zambia tumuone ko tuendera tumuone utatu uteko utukwete ubu terenga tuchure n'ubu no guteko wali kwa kale walisha amatongo walisha ndoti mama
sana
alikiangira mtate tifiko
yes
so ine ninjiruka mwanji nale danda wala pano mapa nomba ze we muleta ama pronunciation ni kumbela na kuno twalikwata ko bakabwita nga baita rondero lepo chiri ko tuendera.
There's hope in the future. Yes, correct. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Yes.
In the same way, you can be.
Thank you, Malambo.
Thank you so much for coming through. It's everybody's concern about how these monies were acquired and
yes.
how much
let me
how
just
these
respond
monies were spent.
Thank you. Mr. Malambo raises a very fundamental issue. You know, as economists, one of the first basic lessons we are taught is that money is a scarce commodity, right? Scarce. That is what informs the value of money. Money cannot be common. It has to be scarce. You gave an example of Mr. Bono Musamatwale Posafempia. We used to see it on social media, on TV. These people turned our currency, our Zambian currency, into toilet paper. It was of no value to them, to the point that it was only in excess supply to an exclusive club of PF cronies. The majority of us Zambians, to be able to benefit from this, you have to line up and call someone honorable. Then it tells you, here, Sendaka Bakawunga, whatever. Is that sustainable? The Chinese have taught us, teach a man how to catch fish, not give him fish. What we are trying to do is to correct the wrongly placed priorities under PF. And I can assure you, Amalambo, I share your views that there's a better future out there. We are seriously addressing the issue of productivity in the economy. That is why the president is in and out of the copper belt, right? To get the mines going. I've been told, as I was coming here, that in 2 weeks' time, KCM is going to be handed over to the investor and they're starting production. Mopani, Luasha mine, they're all about to start firing on 8 cylinders. What does that do? It will transform the entire economic landscape of the copper belt. We are doing things around the energy crisis. We don't shy away from acknowledging that, yes, there are things that we should have done differently, we should have done better. But we failed, maybe the Zambian people, like on the energy. What is being done now? There are pronouncements by the Honorable Minister and Chief Government Spokesperson, Cornelius Muta, about the interventions. Then Dollar Energy, bringing on board 100 megawatts, expensive power, but it's coming. It's cheaper, it's rather better, or more expensive not to have power than to have power. So there's also the Zambia-Tanzania power interconnector, which is going to bring in another 400 megawatts or so. And there's also Mamba Collieries, which the banks have agreed to finance the second phase of upgrade to pump or generate another 300 megawatts. So fellow Zambians, let us not be deceived by what these people made us to believe, that life is about you being lazy and waiting for a petition to sustain you. No.
Right. The number you're calling us on is 0955221515. You're on the Happy World of 5FM Radio. It is the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue. You can also send us your SMSs on 07619-124. We are running on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, 5FM Radio Zambia. My guest in studio this morning is Mr. Noel Nkoma, who is an economist and the new board chairperson for NRFA. We are going around issues to do with the economy, issues to do with debt restructuring, and also some of the solutions that can go towards rebuilding the economy. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Moderator.
Good morning. Your name, sir, where are you calling from?
Mr. Katongo is my name. I'm calling from within Lusaka. Good morning, Mr. Nkoma.
Good morning, Mr. Katongo. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've heard you, on several, platforms, discussing the economy and what transpired and what never transpired. Yeah. But what is important, this political, system, it's also important that you acknowledge what the previous, government, did. Because the Zambian people have seen what the previous government did. That's how you can actually build on that legacy, what they left. You are using the airports that were built by the previous government. And the roads, last time you were saying you are going home to see your families, and then you are using the same roads which were done by the previous government. I think these are the most important things that when you are doing politics, let's try to recognize what the previous government, did. There's no country in the world which doesn't actually acquire, loans or debts on Congolese. Even countries like, Argentina, there's massive debts which they are working on. The government that has come in. There's no way, even our government right now, because they knew that they weren't just going with a clean slate. There were debts that were, left, behind, which they're supposed to, sort out. The problem that we're having is just to put the blame, everything on the previous, government. You are coming from the NF, because what I'd expected from you was to talk about how you are going to settle the debt, because I'm also affected, some of us, contractors, this is now almost 2 years, 7 months. We haven't been paid the money, So we're just wondering how come we are not being paid. We are Zambians as well. We've lost, properties, like what you rightly, put it. People have gone to their graves because of the debt, that is outstanding there. They haven't been paid. I thought probably you could have concentrated more on telling the Zambian people, especially contractors, so now we are going to settle the outstanding amount. The current government, there are good things. I'll give you a very good example of the CDF. The CDF is a very good thing because I've actually moved around, the rural areas within Zambia, and I've seen, the flashes here and there, how we can actually improve, especially the lives of the people out there. I think it's something that, if I was given an opportunity like you have been given, something that we should actually emphasize on, how we can actually improve the service delivered in terms of, CDF. It's a very, very good thing because I was actually, privileged when I was working in one of these quasi-government institutions, ZCTU. I was actually one of the proponents of the decentralization. And then we actually hammered that we should actually introduce real decentralization. And this is what the government is trying to do. And this is what we should emphasize on the service delivery so that the people out there can see the change that they actually need from, the CDF, which has been increased. That, to the government, I give kudos because this is what we've been working on. Give the money to the people or take the money to where it belongs, to the people, to the grassroots there. And then we're going to see a lot of changes. Probably that's my submission, Honorable.
Thank you so much, Mr. Katongo.
Thank you, Mr. Katongo. And I have a few messages here, and I can assure you, Mr. Anson Joseph, I definitely am not siding with my guest, but saying it and putting it like it is. I had asked you a question just before we take another call to outline some of the measures being put in place to improve the economy, and of course to correct some of the ills that were accrued over time. And these are norms, yes, as Mr. Katongo says. What are you also not doing in acknowledging what the previous regime did? Okay. Let's take this call and then you respond to that. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Your name, sir, where are you calling from?
Elvis on the line.
Elvis, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Is that Cecilia?
This is Grace.
Oh, Grace, Msimuko. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Elvis. How are you? It's been a long time.
Fantastic. It has been long indeed.
Yes.
The guest, how are you?
I'm okay, Elvis. How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you.
Who is that? Is that Mr.
Mr. Noel Nkoma?
Mr. Noel Nkoma.
Yes.
Our usual economist.
Yes.
Yeah. You see, the problem which I have with the UPND is that they try to run away from their responsibilities, especially where it comes to the economy. When you were in the opposition, you told us vehemently that this economy has been destroyed. We cannot even borrow. The debt has reached the ceiling. This is what you were telling us. Today we are hearing the rhetoric from you, UPND, telling us that this economy was destroyed by the PF. Why the was to come and correct the ills which were done in the PF. If you tell me today, Mr. Nkoma, that the PF failed to deliver, how would you compare? How much was a bag of milk in the PF? How much was the fuel in the PF? And how much is the fuel now? How much was a bag of fertilizer in the PF? How much is a bag of fertilizer today? What was the cost of living then in the PF and the cost of living today? How was the load shedding previously and the load shedding which we are experiencing today? Those are the things I should be comparing. So if I compare, we are more far worse than it was in the PF.
This is what is on the ground. Ask everyone, we will tell you that. In fact, they are saying we are wasting time. 2026 should come very soon so that they kick you out of government. This is what the people are saying. Everyone is feeling the pinch. And to make it worse, my sister Msimuko there, these people have become so arrogant that they are not even listening. They are telling us to go and eat cassava. These are the things which they were condemning in the PF. Why should we eat cassava when we had a lot of maize in this country? And you saw the maize, Mr. Nkoma. It's very embarrassing today, Mr. Nkoma, to be importing maize from Tanzania, a country where you exported maize. Where is the logic there? It is so embarrassing, Mr. Nkoma, today to see people moving. Do you know that we are lining up for Mirimi? Mirimi is being chased like, I don't know. You hear that unga wabwera kwa kalingalinga. Mapeza wasila, mwambo tabi, wabwera uko. In this era when we had so much maize, are the UPND being sincere today? Where is the rule of law, Mr. Nkoma, which you were preaching you? Today the police can be even storming churches, which never happened in the PF. You said you come and correct everything. We expected you not to do what the PF were doing, but you are doing exactly the same. This is why the people are being disgruntled today. I don't expect you to come there to come and blame the PF. Give us solutions. What are the long-term measures and short-term measures? How you are going to sort out the issue of electricity? Where I come from, Nkoma, electricity goes at 0.04. It comes at 0.1. Sometimes it goes 0.4. It comes in the morning. What kind of load shedding is that? Everyone, Mr. Nkoma, is crippled because of you, the incompetence of your government. People are not even working today. Saloons have been closed.
30 seconds. 30 seconds by Elvis.
What?
Let us give chance to others to also come through.
Let me conclude, my sister.
Mm-hmm.
What we are telling this government, do the right thing. Otherwise, you are remaining with only 1 year to sort out these issues. If you are not going to sort out these issues, Mr. Nkoma, no matter how you explain, the people of Zambia today have become so clever and they are seeing what is happening. You explain mountains and you will not listen. The only thing to do is kick you out of government in 2026 if you do not deliver. Thank you very much, my sister.
Thank you, Elvis, for coming through. And I have a question here from Michael Sakala, who says, why did RDS stop collecting toll fees? And what is the assurance that the fees will not become another issue beyond government control? Okay, so we are taking your calls on 0955-221515, SMSs 07619129493. You can also follow us on Facebook, 5FM Radio Zambia, including our YouTube channels. If you are outside of Lusaka, you can catch us on Wave FM on 98.7 in Mazabuka, Spice FM 91.9, Central Province, Tuta FM 90.7 in Mansa. Let's take one more call and then I'll allow you to respond to the three queries. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Your name, where are you calling us from?
Yes, good morning, madam. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. Mr. Mianda calling you from Kabanana here in Manshola.
Okay, Mr. Mianda.
Yes, please.
Okay, you are welcome to the burning issue.
Yes, please. Mr. Nkoma, good morning there.
Good morning, Mr. Mianda. How are you today?
I'm all right, sir.
Thank you for calling.
Yes, please. I think for me, you are explaining very well, and you have spoken very well. First of all, every Zambian should know that the PF messed up the economy of this country. Look at the mountain of debt that the previous regime left. It was really a shocking debt that paralyzed the economy of this country. And the New Dawn government now is trying to, to rebrand the economy, is trying to pick pieces here and there so that is back on track. And someone coming says, no, this is what the PF, did. And I would also want to talk about the character and you see what the behavior of our former president, who is the 66th president. First of all, it should be known that that person has relinquished his position as the former head of state, right? By virtue of him relinquishing the position of former head of state, meaning that is now being regarded as a political leader, right? Now, look at what happened to the copper belt a few days ago, where the entire UCA went into the copper belt, and they were alleging that we are going there to go and worship and whatever it is. Ms. Nkoma, if I can ask this question, how do you go in a church and you start talking about energy crisis, you start talking about and then you are saying, no, we are who are they fooling? We are not young, all right? That was a political campaign, and the campaigning in a church is not right. So I would want to urge the church to be on, I would want to urge the police to be on guard. Look at these people, look at their behavior. You know what is trying to create? The former president is trying to create an impression that Zambia is now becoming ungovernable and shrinking democracy and all that kind of stuff. So that international community, then creating a deliberate, a deliberate confusion in Zambia, which is not supposed to be the case. So the police should be on guard and see to it that there is order in the country, and see to it that we have order in our country. What they were doing, gassing people, what they were doing, killing people, what they were doing, and all that kind of stuff. We do not want it now. We want law and order to prevail in our country so that everybody can enjoy, so that everybody can see that indeed there is a democracy in our country. I think, Mr. Nkoma, those are the few words that I wanted to speak to you.
Thank you, my brother, Mr. Menda. I really acknowledge and appreciate your intervention.
Okay, the president's behavior and Elvis came through with pricing and comparing what was pertaining then and what is on the ground today.
Okay.
How do you speak to that?
Okay, let me respond. I will first of all want to thank all of you who have called. And I think what makes us better is when we begin to receive feedback, and feedback can be positive or negative. And I truly appreciate all of you's contributions. I'll start with my brother, Mr. Katongo. Mr. Katongo, you are very, very right. We have to acknowledge what our brothers before us, brothers and sisters, were able to deliver to the Zambian people. And I have been on this program and many other platforms, and I've acknowledged that one of the game changers that PF scored on, which up to now I still applaud, and all of us are beneficiaries, is the National Health Insurance Management Agency. You can see how many people it has been able to attend to in terms of major operations, which have been very expensive and affordable, but my own people in the village are benefiting. That I've acknowledged publicly. I've also equally acknowledged the program to open up the country. There are places where there were no roads before. It has opened up. The property values have gone up. We appreciate, we acknowledge. But we have had an issue as UPND. That I should not lie. At what cost was this benefit contracted? That's the issue, right? If we believe, like I gave an example of Lusaka and Dollar, we delivered at $650 million. They were asking for 1.5 billion. There's an issue. Let's have a conversation around that. And let's not shy away. On your issue, Mr. Katongo, to do with the debt NRFA, I'm taking it very seriously. And like what I assured you, there are options that are on the table. My CEO did present a paper to me, and I've been having, we've been having meetings and conversations with the players in the financial sector. We will resolve the debt issue. We inherited it, but we have got an obligation and a responsibility as government to be able to take the good and the bad things that the previous government left. We are resolving it. The speed, it will depend on how quickly the policymakers will make a decision. But I have a job to escalate it to my appointing authority, who is the Minister of Finance and National Planning, and he has agreed in principle to unlock the debt, because he believes that if we deploy 5-10 billion kwacha into the economy, you, Bakatongo, will be able to pay your workers' arrears, you'll be able to pay your suppliers of goods who have defaulted, you'll also be able to pay your bank, and hoping that your property has not been foreclosed. So as a banker, a former banker myself, I sympathize with you. I know what foreclosure is. So I share your frustrations and anger over this issue. But I can promise you that as long as I sit there, this debt issue will be resolved. And I'll give it a timeline before the end of the year. It's a big issue. 18 billion is not small money. There are many stakeholders involved. We have to engage with the Bank of Zambia, because you are releasing liquidity into the market. We have to see how the exchange rate will behave and so on and so forth. We saw it from NAPSA, the partial withdrawal, what happened to the exchange rate. So we have to be careful how we manage that, but we're going to pay you. That's a promise. Coming to the issue of Mr. Is it Congole?
Elvis.
Okay.
The pricing and the cost.
Joseph. Okay, Elvis, I've followed your submissions on various programs, and one thing that I cannot take away, you have been consistent, right? You have been consistent. I genuinely believe, and I think not only me, many Zambians, that you love your country. You love your country, and you want the best for your country. And us who have been given the opportunity to lead this country must be able to respond to the issues that you raise. You raise cardinal issues. One, you raise an issue of cost of living. It's an issue, right? It's an issue. And I said it, I spoke to it in passing, that as long as we don't deal with the issue of productivity, the cost of living will not run away from us. We have to reboot this economy. We have to get this economy back again. But the only thing that was holding Okutimanga Manja was the issue of the debt, because we couldn't attract investment in the country, because the moment a country is in debt distress, everyone doesn't want to touch it. It's a toxic asset. Zambia became a toxic asset. What has happened? You saw what happened at the London Stock Exchange. The Zambia's credit rating has improved. That tells you that we're now beginning to unlock the economy. This debt issue, I think the private creditors have now agreed to sign up, which now means that we have got headroom to begin to grow this economy. What are we going to do? Let us actualize the issue of food security. Get as many people as possible into production. We are talking about farming blocks. We are talking about interventions like from the Zambia National Service. But we want indigenous farmers, our own, to be food secure. We should not only depend on government to provide food security. Wherever is where you live, maybe I've got a small plot, you don't have to buy vegetables. You can grow vegetables in your backyard. You can grow tomatoes and so on. So let us begin to inculcate this very important issue of food security in our people, so that we move from absolute poverty to basic poverty. We cannot have poverty of food, poverty of shelter, poverty of clothing. Let us begin to take actions. And I think what the president is doing and his cabinet to unlock this economy in terms of what we're doing on the issue of resolving the debt, but most importantly, on the issue of resolving the energy crisis. So I've mentioned extremely important. I am also afflicted. I leave home, there's no power. I get home, there's no power. I only by chance, when I wake up at 0102, I find that there's power. What can I do at that time? Little. So I think there's a recognition from government that this issue should be resolved this year. Excuse me. So that issue is a priority agenda, and we don't shy away to agree that yes, we may have done things differently. We acknowledge our failures, because like I've always told people, President Hakainde Hichilema is not God, right? He's not God to be able to give all the solutions that are basically a preserve of God. He's not God, but he's the alternative. And as long as we continue to build on what the previous government has done, the good things, not the bad things, we should be able to rise above the challenges. I think in terms of the rule of law, I'll leave this to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security or his Inspector General to speak to it. I'm not privy to some of the motivations on their actions, so I can't speak to this. Then I think lastly, yes, we have to do this work quickly. We cannot afford to go into an election 2026 with these issues hanging over our heads. We have to resolve them, and we are going to resolve them. So my assurance to you, my brother Elvis, keep on providing checks and balances. You are a very patriotic Zambian. We applaud you, and we'll continue to listen from you. The best way to deal with opposition is to respond to the things that the cries of the people. If we resolve this energy issue, we resolve the issue of food security, we resolve the issue of cost of living, the opposition will have nothing to talk about. We are very much alive to that. So thank you so much. I'll now quickly go to, I think there was one more intervention from Mr. Mianda. Mr. Mianda, I applaud your valid comments. I think, like many other well-meaning Zambians, we have to acknowledge that we have problems. But when you are in a crisis, you start thinking outside the box and solutions start coming. Like energy crisis, I've mentioned, what are we doing? I spoke about Ndola Energy. They're bringing on board, maybe today or tomorrow, 100 megawatts. So load shedding definitely will be impacted. We have recorded 100 megawatts exports. That brings it to 200 megawatts. We have also started constructing the Zambia-Tanzania Power Interconnector to bring in another 400 megawatts. 200 plus 400, that's 600 megawatts. We have also gone ahead to kickstart the second phase of the Mamba Collieries expansion to bring in another 300 megawatts. That takes us to 900 megawatts. That was all actions to address these issues. So with those responses, I just want to thank you, my brothers. Keep checking us. We are not holy. We are only human, and we are bound to fail.
Right. Let's take in another set of calls, and as you think about, if you go around the other questions that were there, issues to do with climate change, like you said, the president is not God.
Yes.
And these are natural phenomena. We're talking about the El Nino. We're talking about all sorts of things that have come up because of these changes. Now, as a country, we've been receiving support, Noel. We've been receiving support from various stakeholders. What are some of the measures which you have applied to ensure there is prudence? Because I think this is where it all begins. Donors are there. Donors are willing to help. But when it comes to prudence and the expenditure on these monies that come in, when you mention large amounts of money, which probably an ordinary Zambian has never even had an opportunity to see, how prudent is this government to take care of these monies that are coming in? Just hold your thought. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Hello, good morning. Your name, where are you calling from?
My name is Chalwe John, calling from Kabwe, Chalwe Kaume.
Chalwe John?
Yes, Chalwe Kaume.
Chalwe Kaume. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Mwabuka shani tuanani.
Noel Nkoma, how are you, sir?
Yes, Noel Nkoma, Mwabuka shani. I'm very much okay, sir.
Abuka wino, Mwabuka shani mbuya.
Awana tubuka fe wino mbuya na ifwe nombe sala fe mbuya.
I know, and I really understand that so many Zambians are inflicted, and it's our responsibility as those who have been given this opportunity to be able to resolve this issue. I agree with you. I share that thought.
Okay, sir. Can you check 2 or 3 questions? Nkoma.
Yes.
Problem eyo mukwete mbuya wandi mweli bali mu UPND. Tamulefwayo kumfa ku bantu. And tamulefwayo kusumina ifyo mulelu fyanya. And chimbi chibitire for mule chita compare. Mwaisa muku chita compare na revenge. Ifwe bantu twale kwa change. Change twale fwaya. Ifi ari mu PF tatwale fwaya. So nomba fili mu PF, ifi ari mu PF ife twatampo kumana mu UPND. Tuchule ko kunsala, tuchule ko kuri bakada, tuchule ko kumalaiti, nomba change ni shiri pesa. Pari. So ifwe bantu twale fwaya katarizi mu kumeko, twale fwa 50 kwa chovunga, ife mwatwebere, twalefwa dola 14 hours nanomba 14 hours siwe otwe 10 kwata nanomba shishibenga iri pari shinga iri nomba ni pari 34 kwacha so nomba mbuya wandi apa change ni shiri pesa so mbuya wandi pakwati muteke bwino echalo ambeni ukumva kubantu efe balelanda and ambeni ukula ukuchita icho mwala ile noti mule chikata ama promise ukwabula okufikirisha pamuna mukabwe tatwikele bwino kuri bakada I'm telling you the truth inene ulelanda pano nechalo ka omeno kufanga na alifwa bakutuma fesi no kumipshe fine nde mipsha bantu mina bakada efe twalefwa kwe bantu so ichilele ngati abantu bambe okulanda pali lungu ukutira sintu mwala ile na mufilo okuchita for few and muna ichitape praise each and every time abaringiri okutasha nifwabo kwe bantu not imwo kuitasha elo mune sumino kutira no na tulu bapa tete twalandire mwamfa ba PF lekeni kulanda po yonse government ila Kongola iya isa po ile isa mukulipira na imwe bene mule Kongola na bakesa mukulipira po baneno no manoti each and every time ba PF ba dichitesi ba PF wapoka munobyo mwana kashi again uchiri ulelanda pali ule wapoka nishu mwana kashi kuti akumona shani so na para abantu balanda na mufilo okuteka mwamfate you have failed my brother ukuteke chalo cha Zambia and mwati chusha pafula ama light ya isa 22 hours ya 04 elo muletwe bati bombesheni kubombesha kwa shani mule fatu bombesha kwamba okubutuko olubiro and nakale twale bombesha elo nomba aba saluni aba baba shop ama weoda mulenja abana ikala shani bala survive shani Tesio twale for my dear brother elo lekeni kukonka ba opposition chimule ba konka ni chimule ba chita campaign mule chita this campaign mwebene so imwe etio mule kwa kuchita chiteni feso ambeni kumfa kubantu no kufikirisha pe mwala ile abantu my brother failure for that 2026 inena la miebo kwa twaeni ama ukwa bagi muleya kwa mibikile po nifuego no kumifunya po nifuego kwa kamifunya po pana mupiro kuchitepe mwala ile muna mukabwenga mwaisa mukesa atwe benshi mukesa atwe bofunga 25 kwacha mukesa atwe pali mulungu shmarira kano kulanda po
Thank you Mr. Chalwe for your consent.
Thank you so much. 2026 muleya bash promise.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. John Chalwe from Kabwe. One more call and then you can respond. Hello, good morning. Awa twabomba fe bwino nate mokumfa ko kuli a lady for a change. Ishi namayo.
Ishi nani bana kaonga kukabwe.
Bana kaonga.
Kukabwe.
Okay, kukabwe kulishani lero.
Kukabwe kulishe bwino lero mwanda kaswa kabala ko esi yako.
Okay. Mashi winshi mukwete kuli ba Nkoma.
Ba Nkoma na balanda bwino bale ukwito kulanda zi impia jeshe shupa Kongo ya echari ngero kwebati muri no government bawaya waeni bombele mwandu wangu ongolisho. So, inocho ningalanda chakulanda. Ngiri ne ba Nkoma wetu kutasha kusuma. British government yari bombele pamaka. Inkongole shon tocha ya Kongwele. Yari shibofeshe. Inisewe shitupita ama hospital tulengira. Ama police force bari shantinga monse. Muno no mwashini. Ama station. Monse bari pangira ngani kaweta kwa ina station yao. Bari pangire. Market bali landyo kwa twarapa nga tukakuirikisha. Ipi bali bombele pampi ya chiresho bali kongawe. Shari moneka. Basi mwana mwaisa mu government. Mwari kongola kwengongole sho shindi. Batito mlebo batasira ambo kumoneka. Mule tulaya apipakanwa. Kwa twa para watura yokwe bati ama laiti bara tupangira so. Ngati akitika. Eo tufiye tuleta. Mwati vipi tatile kitika. Umwana ngufito kubatura ile ba president na makaya yabo kyose cyari tarala pensi bari landire yonka bunga 50 kwa 14 hours dollar tairabwera ati shana kyose bile ngere na ifo mukyalo twachulira mu bari tura ile pamaka na kwa sasa mwingi sasa mwe mwono kwa bati na mwalayo mu chintu Moyo tukabomba tulekana. Nandu wanchi ete mwana yachari kula ufi. Tatiki tikwa mwamoni. Anomba inenga nena mai na ninji mapatweka. Tepo anomba bakalaisa bale lande kishinka. Ubufi bwatiramo. Imamo nerikara bwino na rukwa rwe. Bati muturechura. Tilafine na Afrika bataguri amana ikopi na Afrika. Na baba chokuna ntuma gonza to bari kumamu abandi. Nandu wanchi ago mana itapari. Ni ko sina muturechura. Bani nenga bati ntako tukwate yabare sinalaria. Namba takuti. Ara to gereshi. Ara itala shani umuntu. So mwe bantu nati bipa. Bandi ba president lady ba nanka na ba aka inde ichireni. Bali ni napaswaya hii. Bali wewe shape. Great time the day. What did I have the door anyway? Shana shan. So I just into kuwali kisenda mwe bantu tukafona bakachireki. Pamanda wakoba tumwali twenda kwa maka. Mwana inopo tuachura mzambi. Mwana inopo tuwasebana. Pamanda wakoba babandi ipo bai ngira ko pena mataba ayo mwana tamwa kungwira kumo. Yonse mwatora tiyo. Te imwe bale sala ko badi so mutenda mataba jo tukati. Next year tukati so mwali lufienye. Sisi nyina muona ula mwebana. So bombe lense na maka eshenko tibaya na madezi ya sharaka wise. Tapari kondependa pana.
Natotela bana kaonga. Those are very strong sentiments.
Yes. Let me speak to them, and I think again to thank the callers, and I will go one by one. First of all, I think let me start with Wanakawe. Wanakaonga from Kawe. Yes, you have raised the fundamental issues Wanakaonga, and you say that impia ishetulo konga tamleshibona koshile. Wanakaonga mipishako one question. Uko muri kukawe Zambia Railways under PF wasendere in Kongole $120 million ati tuleshtanshi tulefa tuwamie Zambia Railways kuti iwekele kula kushita kwa kweli kaunda Zambia Railways ilikuisa. Have you ever asked wana kaonga ababene ama leaders muletasha na timu pia Zambia Railways ku headquarters ilikulokawe shaide kuisa, right? First wanakaonga, if you have got a child who was at university tamwale lipira mwempia in terms of either ama fees or what you call allowances mwalefi mama salary ya nofumpia sheno ukupela omala kutabe ku university nomba what has happened impia shishine tulole ndapo shishine shaku ukuafurisha babeno. All the universities now are getting bursaries. All the universities now are getting allowances. Students are getting meal allowances. Abana beswalisa chula kusaba maule because of inshi ukufa impia. Government yakaenda titulefa abana beswa bachindame twapera education allowance. Fyonse fyo tamulemona because ni empowerment yo. Ngamuntu afume pia ukumulipira omwana wenu. Nishimwe pia ishenu nashikala pocket but amachira acknowledge. 2, mulati kukawe kuna mchula. Right? But ngana mwipishako kukaweko vaonera ma industries zayo mali beshiva kwali kifiko kukaweko yali wali onaula kwali mulungushi textiles wali onaula. So ngato mona penchito vakaende walefo kubomba. It's not that vaishe ukabasa mulaya yoko mu 2026 mukabashita hold accountable wa president akaende kuti pala mwashire kuno mwatwele pali mulungushi textiles mwatwele pali ishina ichi before tatuampela voti wamie ni fifindu ote tuamvotere tefyo mandate ya president hakaende chile mani 5 years. So uku wamie chalo it's not easy but uko now like it's very easy. 2, mwande pa mataba banakawe chimochine na ba Elvis bachilanda pa mataba ati twasagira mataba mu FRA reserve twasashitisha ayo na mataba mwali wesha wabene ababene ama peasant farmers eba twale amataba ku FRA kuti FRA bali pia kusaba pela ma promise notes niba nani balisa bali pila niba UP and administration kula kuna mataba kuyashitisha kuti bali pila ama farmers yeso. So kuli imwe because mali amataba mu reserve tamwasho tukuli abantu aba shine Kongole tabala pila. So please understand where we are coming from. I want to emphasize that yes, there are things that we promised. We are acknowledging them. But we shall do that which is humanly possible going to 2026 elections. And I think in 2026, you hold us to account, right? And the takuli chalo cost of living isha pansi. Olomwe ku America, olomwe ku England, mulagatambama TV. It's a pity that Zesco is letting us down. But every country, cost of living is an issue, more especially after COVID. South Africa, Tanzania. So, lelo nga bread di pa 10 kwacha, it cannot be pa 10 kwacha, or it can pa 8 kwacha. There's no economy which operates like that. Because any economy, things are bound to go up. What we should be able to do, let's create opportunities for our people, create jobs, good paying jobs, so that we match the cost of living with what we are paying our people. So we are acknowledging that. Then the last one is, I think, from John Cholwe. You are right. What makes a good leader is to listen. So all those things that you are talking about, indeed, we have heard, and we are not even supposed to encourage a cadre to touch you. I'm so disappointed, and I hope my national chairman, this one is listening. Let us tame our people, right? Let us tame our people. Let us stop harassing these honest Zambians who are being inflicted by the situation and conditions that we find ourselves in now. If somebody has complained, it's right to complain. But as government, we have to be responsive. Listen to what people are saying and let's do right. So I'm so sorry about the cadreism if it's happening in Kawe, but I'll try and speak to this one to stop it. Then the last thing is that you raise an issue of comparing. Because, there's no, every man, right, has a past. Every man has a past. And the past should be a barometer in terms of where you're coming from and where you're going. We cannot fail to acknowledge where we're coming from. And we cannot fail to acknowledge that there were issues, positives or negatives. So I think that is an issue that we still need to continue to refer to, because it's a reference point. Only do better, like what you have rightly said, when we see the wrongs and cure those wrongs that PF are doing. So that, on that point, I think that is what I can say. So let us acknowledge that, yes, if I just give an example, 60,000 civil servants have been employed. Multiply this by 6, average family of 6. You will realize that this is 120,000 Zambian families which have been taken out of poverty. Because if somebody is employed as a teacher, he's able to get a salary, whether it's 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, he's able to look after his siblings. He's able to take his children to school or her children to school. So there are positive things that this government has done, which I think we should acknowledge. Agriculture, yes, food security is a problem. The president, the cabinet went all out to support the farmers. There was the best farmer support in the last season. The rains failed us. We are not God. We don't know why this has happened. Maybe God is trying to send a message. So let us look at this crisis as a turning point in terms of how we move forward. Thank you.
Right. As we come to the close of the Tuesday edition of the burning issue, I talked about prudence. What is the way forward for UPND, and how you hope to tackle some of these pertinent issues that people have rightly pointed out to? There's a crisis with food.
Yes.
The promises made. What is the way forward for people?
Grace, the 5 urgent things that you have to resolve is the cost of living. Number 1, it's a matter, as I was coming to the studio, I had a meeting with the vice president. I honor the vice president. This is an issue that she spoke about. Let us deal with the cost of living. The second issue is the energy crisis. Like what the callers have said, it is taking our people into absolute poverty. We have to deal with this and deal with it in a manner that even if it means government cushioning the cost of importing power, let us do that. Thirdly, the most important issue that we have to deal with is the job opportunities. Let us expand the economy. Let us grow the economy. Let the trickle-down effects be felt. Let our people get back to work. Let our people be empowered. Those who don't want to work, let them do businesses. Let us bring back consumer demand. What grows an economy is consumer demand. If you are able to earn an income, you will be able to go to the next door neighbor and buy chitumboa and buy a tire. So we have to get our people back to earn real incomes to sustain their families, sustain themselves, but also grow the economy. The last priority area is the the issue around how we deal with food security in a manner that Zambians will never suffer food poverty. That is very important. So in all the conversations that we are having, those of us who are privileged to serve in this government, is these 4 issues to be our guiding principles going into 2026. We are not saying that we are waiting for 2026, but things are being done now. We should be able to have a partial resolution of the energy crisis by bringing on board another 900 megawatts. So all I can say is we welcome criticism, because that is what will build us.
Right. Well, Mr. Nkoma, I'd like to thank you very much for you having taken time off your busy schedule to come and share with us pertinent issues on our economy, the debt restructuring, and many other conversations. I do hope that you will give us an opportunity, another opportunity for us to discuss further on what the NRFA have in the offing for the people of Zambia. Again, I thank you very much for coming through.
I thank you so much, and thank you so much to the listeners out there. Thank you very much to 5FM, and it's good to be back home. Thank you.
Right. And so there you have it. My guest on the program this morning was Mr. Noel, who is an economist, and he's also the incoming board chairperson for the National Road Funds Agency, NRFA. Until the next time around, my name is Grace Msimuko. Do have a pleasant morning.
Tune in next week for another edition of The Burning Issue, and thank you for your participation.